Hi everyone, welcome to English for You. I'm Pat.
And I'm Mike.
And today we're going to be introducing a particularly beautiful place in Taiwan. But before we do that, what are some places of great natural beauty in our own countries that maybe we could introduce? I mean, you've got basically the entire country, so...
Canada?
Yeah, it's got
really?
Mountains.
Mountains?
Red forests
Canada?
that change color in, the autumn. I've seen them.
I live in a city. No, of course, we have wonderful national parks in Canada. A lot of you might have been to Banff National Park in the Rocky Mountains. They have beautiful lakes, beautiful mountains. If you ski, you can do it there. Maybe over on the East Coast in the Maritimes, on the Atlantic side, we have Peggy's Cove with a beautiful lighthouse and wonderful crashing waves from the Atlantic, and I don't know, I could go on and on. Yeah. How about you? The UK is much smaller than Canada, but it's got some wonderful places, some beautiful and famous places.
Yeah, too. A lot of people would talk about the Lake District in the north.
I went there last time.
The hills and lakes and all sorts of stuff. You know, most of Scotland, which, you know, you get away from the cities in the south and it's all
but don't go during mid-season.
No, not so much fun.
Flies that bite you, not so much fun.
Yep. Yes. Snowdonia in Wales, where I've been, just full of these great big beautiful mountains.
And the White Cliffs of Dover.
Yeah.
Can't forget those.
Plenty of beautiful places, but which one in Taiwan are we going to check out today? Let's read through the article and find out.
Reading.
Celebrate Taiwan's natural beauty at the Lau Mei Green Reef. One of Taiwan's most beautiful sights is near the tiny fishing village of Lau Mei, New Taipei City. Each spring, green algae grow over the entire reef, making it look like a green carpeted natural wonder. The reef formed thousands of years ago when volcanoes in the Datuan mountain range erupted. Lava flowed out and created the shape of Taiwan's north coast and the 700-meter-long reef. The sea and wind have worn away at the reef for centuries, carving rows of valleys and peaks. The best time to visit the Lau Mei Green Reef is from March to May. The reef can only be seen during low tide, so make sure to check the tide schedule. The area is most popular when the sun rises and sets. People love to go at these times to photograph the brilliant green algae and the glowing sky shining in the water. Taking photos is permitted, but signs warn visitors about fines for walking on the reef. People can easily fall on the slippery surface, and walking on it can damage it. If you can, celebrate spring by viewing this lovely natural phenomenon.
So we introduced this place in our article's introduction. It says, one of Taiwan's most beautiful sights is near the tiny fishing village of Lau Mei in New Taipei City, or just Lau Mei, New Taipei City.
It's not far from here, New Taipei City. It's not down south, it's up north. What would you find there in Lau Mei? It says each spring, green algae grow over the entire reef, making it look like a green carpeted natural wonder. It's one of those articles where we're reading it. We don't have the pictures you guys might have. I want to see a picture of this because it sounds very impressive, and I don't think I've seen anything like it. Although I have seen algae before, because I used to have a fish tank, and as a kid, I didn't clean it enough. And as you know, if you've ever had a fish tank and you don't clean it enough, you get little plants, little green plants growing on the rocks or even on the glass on the inside of the fish tank. Those little plants that grow underwater are algae. They come in many different shapes and sizes. We can eat them in the Japanese food nori. We can use them, I think they use algae in toothpaste and all sorts of other wonderful things. But of course, it's a simple underwater plant that grows on rocks and things like that. For example, you should also mention that they use sunlight to get food just like other plants do.
Yeah, if you go out into the countryside and you see a lake, it's particularly still water rather than running water.
Right.
And if it kind of looks a bit green on top,
Ooh, that's definitely algae.
That's algae.
Frogs like it.
Okay, now this particular kind of group or set or colony, we might say, of algae grow on a reef. A reef is a ridge or rising area of rock, coral, something similar that lies underneath the surface of the water. Now, sometimes it might actually come out of the water and you'd see it. At other times, it will be under the water. It's the sort of thing that would be dangerous for ships to go over because it's very close to the surface. But a coral reef is where you would see all those beautiful fish and kind of coral growing and stuff like that if you go scuba diving.
It's where Nemo lives.
Exactly. Now, that sentence also included today's language in focus, so we're going to check that out right now. So that sentence included a compound adjective. Now, an adjective, of course, is just a description word. You describe things with it. But compound adjectives use two words, or sometimes three words that are connected by hyphens, and by connecting these two words, you create a new meaning other than the original words. So hard and working each have their own meanings. But if you put them together, you get hard-working, a person or thing that works hard. Now, you can make compound adjectives in lots of different ways, combining other types of words. For example, an adjective followed by a noun followed by a noun, or a number followed by a noun. Now, when you have the second word of a compound adjective as a noun, you almost treat it like a verb and add ed to the end of it to make it a sort of adjective form. So long is an adjective and hair is a noun. But if you add ed to hair, you get long-haired, somebody with long hair. Bad-tempered. Temper is a noun, you've got a bad temper. Bad-tempered is the adjective. Some more examples could be eight-legged, and if we put a noun after it, you could have a three-eyed monster. Again, leg and eye are nouns, but we're almost treating them like verbs by adding the ed ending. So the one we had in the sentence was green carpeted. So green is an adjective, can be a noun. Carpet is definitely a noun, but we make carpeted, green carpeted, to mean it looks like a green carpet. Beautiful. We also describe it as a wonder.
That's right, a wonder of nature. And you might have heard of the seven wonders of the world back in the old days, the pyramids and things like that. A wonder generally is just something that makes people go, wow, or make people almost believe that it's not true. How can that be? It's just too incredible. How tall is that building? How big is that airplane? How huge is this desert? It's almost beyond belief. It's almost hard to understand, and it's definitely something people will know about, will travel to see. It'll be quite famous around the world because it's really incredible. It's quite a wonder. For example, the Concorde supersonic airliner was a wonder of 1960s technology. You could fly from London to New York in like 3 hours or something. Wow. You can't even do that today. It's a wonder of technology.
So we learned that this Laomei is a reef, and we learned the reef formed thousands of years ago when volcanoes in the Datun, I think that's how you say it, mountain range erupted. Now, we've got a couple of words here today which are very connected. Volcano, a noun, is a fiery mountain. It's an alive mountain that will sometimes put out smoke, fire, whatever.
That's right, and when it is putting out smoke or fire or whatever, it is erupting. When something kind of blows up or bursts or something, especially when it shoots out of the top very much like a volcano does. Some volcanoes look kind of like mountains, like Mount Fuji. You have those other ones in Hawaii that are more like lakes of fiery hot lava. But whenever they're spurting or shooting things out, whether it's flame or burning rock or gas or smoke, it's erupting. So we're also talking about sort of a violent explosion out of something. We can also use erupt maybe to talk about someone's anger, right? His anger erupted, or the audience erupted in laughter when the comedian was telling jokes. It's sort of like bursting out or shooting out with great force.
So Mike mentioned a word there, lava, and that's in our next sentence. Lava flowed out, as it does with volcanoes, and created the shape of Taiwan's north coast and the 700-meter-long reef. Notice there another compound adjective, 700-meter long. Now, lava is molten stone. It's stone that is so hot it's taken on liquid form. We use lava when it's outside the volcano. When it's inside, we use another word, magma.
Absolutely. And the article continues, the sea and wind have worn away at the reef for centuries, carving rows of valleys and peaks. Yes, that's true. A lot of volcanoes help to form Taiwan, but most of those volcanoes have died away. They don't erupt anymore. So all of this happened a long time ago. And as you know, over thousands and hundreds of thousands or millions of years, even mountains, even hard things like stone will wear away. This is the reason we have that beautiful Queen's Head up also on the North Shore. Wind and water has worn away at the rock to give it the shape of a head and a neck. And every time you pick up a rock from the bottom of a river or a lake or at the ocean, you might notice how smooth and round it is compared to other rocks. That's because the action of the water, the sand, the wind has worn away, has sort of smoothed something out, taken away the sharp edges, and changed it slowly over time.
And in that way, the wind and water have carved all these sort of ridges and high points and low points and peaks and valleys in the Laomei Green Reef. Let's look at the word carve right now. Now, to carve is to cut, and it's often to cut deeply. We might think of carving as using a tool, like you might carve meat or carve a face in a pumpkin around Halloween. And we often carve things to create a shape. Now, we can also say that wind or water, the sea, that nature can carve something in the land, basically to turn it into a particular shape. But in this case, it's done over a period of many years. Think of Taroko Gorge. That has been carved deeply into kind of the side of the mountains of that part of Taiwan over thousands of years. But why read about the Laomei Green Reef when you can visit it?
That's a very good question. And why visit it at any time of the year when you can visit it at the perfect time of the year? Or as the article says, the best time. The best time to visit the Laomei Green Reef is from March to May. So as luck has it, you can still make it during the best time of the year.
Right, but you have to visit not only during the right month, but at the right kind of times of day. This is because, as the article says, the reef can only be seen during low tide. So make sure to check the tide schedule. So the tide is the natural rising and falling of sea levels. When it's high tide, the seawater is very high up the beach, covers a lot of it, the beach will look smaller. At low tide, it goes back out to sea, and it'll come in and go out twice over the course of the day. So you need to check and go, okay, when is low tide? Is it going to be early? Is it going to be late? That kind of thing. When should I go and see it? Because if you go when the tide is high or the water is high, you can't see these rocks with their algae.
Of course.
So we've got an example sentence here for tide. Ellie likes to go down to the shore at low tide to search for interesting seashells.
Because the water is further out, she can find more shells. And of course, this is all caused by the moon and the movement of the earth and the moon. And it changes through the months and through the year. So you really have to look it up if you want to get accurate information. It says the area is most popular when the sun rises and sets. That's true. I guess low tide could be in the middle of the night, so you don't want to go then. But if you can find a time when low tide is right around either early in the morning when the sun is rising or late in the afternoon, early evening when the sun's going down, it will be perfect. It takes a little bit of luck.
Yes.
A little bit of planning
Yes,
here. Yeah.
you don't just show up.
No.
And why at these times? Well, the article says people love to go at these times to photograph the brilliant green algae and the glowing sky shining in the water. So yeah, of course there's going to be a lot of, the sun's low, the light will come in at different angles, it'll reflect off the water. You'll have these beautiful sunsets or sunrises where you've got green, blue, reddish kind of sky. What a riot of color.
I am jealous of the people looking at the magazine right now because I'm just imagining this. It says taking photos, like the ones you can see, taking photos is permitted, but signs warn visitors about fines for walking on the reef.
Oh.
Yes, do not walk on the reef if you can. Remember, reefs are made up of coral, which are living animals. So you're stepping on animals when you're walking on the reef. Don't do that. And there are other reasons to not walk on a reef too. And here we had this word permit. To permit something is basically to allow something, to say it's okay. Can I do this? Yes, you can. You are permitted to do this. So basically, we permit you to do something if you're not breaking any rules or anything like that. We can also use this as a noun to talk about a permit, like a driving permit is like a driving license. The permit permits you or allows you to drive a car without getting in trouble. But if someone lets you do something when they could say no, but they're letting you do it, they are permitting you to do that thing. For example, I'm sorry, you're not permitted to use the swimming pool if you're not staying in this hotel. Only hotel guests are permitted to use the pool.
All right, so you are not allowed, you're not permitted to go and walk on the reef. But people are people, and you know that someone's going to probably...
No, don't do it. A sign says don't do it.
That's right. People will think about doing it, but if there's a sign that warns them not to do it, then maybe fewer people will.
Hopefully.
Yeah, to warn somebody or warn a person about something is to notify them, to tell them about a possible danger. If you do this, something bad might happen. Weather warnings are when we warn people and tell the population bad weather is coming, crazy rain, extreme heat, strong winds. Warning is the noun form, so you might warn a person, don't do that or you'll get in trouble. The sign will say, walking is not permitted. If people walk, they will get fined. I assume there's some kind of fine for it, and that's the warning. The possible danger is you losing money. There is another possible danger too, which we'll get into. But first, let's look at an example sentence for the word warn. I warned Jack not to try to eat the extra large pizza by himself, but he didn't listen to me.
You warned him.
He's got a stomachache.
Hey, you warned him.
I told him.
You can't say, no one told me. No, Pat warned you, Jack, but you still did it. All right, so yes, you are warned, don't walk on the rocks. It can hurt the reefs, of course. That is bad. But it also says, here's another reason, people can easily fall on the slippery surface and walking on it can damage it. So yes, the second part, we know walking on the reef is not good, but also it's hard. It's dangerous walking on the reef. Algae and wet rocks are very slippery. So unless you're a ballet dancer or a circus performer, you'll probably feel your feet go this way while your body goes that way, and bam, you'll land hard on your bum and you'll get hurt. Either a minor injury, or something more serious. Because when you walk on slippery things, falling is a real danger. Because something slippery is slick to the touch. It feels like there's oil on there, like you're walking on ice, like you're in the shower and there's soap on the floor and you're like, ooh, baby steps. If I try to run or even if I jump up and down, my feet can slide out from under me and I will fall because the surface of something, it slips, it slides very easily, it is slippery. For example, don't try to walk on the ice with your normal shoes. It's too slippery. You might need special shoes, or you'll have to walk very slowly and carefully.
Okay, so now all you guys know what you should not do at Lau Mei Green Reef.
That's right.
Photos, yes. Walking around on the rocks, no. So we finished the article by telling people some more suggestions to kind of wrap things up, or one more suggestion. If you can, celebrate spring by viewing this lovely natural phenomenon. Okay, so a phenomenon is a noun. The plural is phenomena with an A ending. It's not an S ending like most noun plural forms, but it's an interesting or strange situation or event that actually does happen. It has been observed. People have seen it. It's not just in stories, even though it kind of sounds like it might be a story. It's a real thing. It doesn't happen all the time, or it doesn't happen everywhere, but yeah, it's a pretty cool situation. For example, the Northern Lights are famous, but have you heard of a similar phenomenon called the Southern Lights?
Oh, down in Australia.
Yeah, I mean, I have heard of them, but they are a lot harder to see. You either have to be on a boat or somewhere, or compared to the Northern Lights, there are fewer places to go and see.
That's true. You have to get near the South Pole, and there's a lot of water around there. So that's a good reason why people haven't seen that phenomenon. All right, we have a chat question for you coming up, so stick around and we'll get to that right now.
You chat.
All right, so we've been looking at this wonderful green reef out there in Lau Mei. Now, Taiwan is not a huge country, as I'm sure you know, but it does have a lot of natural wonders in it. Cool things that nature has provided us to go see and check out. So, if we ignore a Lau Mei green reef just for a moment, what are some other natural wonders of Taiwan? Let's talk about them. And of course, here we're ignoring like Taipei 101, buildings and things. Those are not natural wonders.
Yeah. Well, the one that springs to mind most obviously is Matsu's blue tears.
Oh, the blue tears of Matsu.
Yeah, which is, again, caused by kind of very small things living in the water that will glow with a bluish light, again, at certain times of the year when the water and the air is doing a certain thing. And people travel there to take these photos that looks like kind of just blue glow going all over the ocean.
Oh, that's so cool.
That is obviously one natural wonder. Can you think of any others?
I guess one that if I tell people, they're surprised it's here, and they're also surprised how few. On Green Island, there is a saltwater hot spring.
Oh, yeah.
And I think there's only 3 in the world, and one is in Israel, and the other 2 are in like desert places where you'd expect to kind of find salty water. But here in Taiwan on Green Island, I think one of 3 saltwater hot springs, the only 3 in the whole planet. So I always thought that's kind of cool.
That is pretty cool. That'd be something to go and check out. What are some other natural wonders that you guys can think of? Talk about them, and that's all the time we have. Thanks for watching, everybody. For English for You, I'm Pat.
And I'm Mike.
And we'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Vocabulary Review.
Wonder. Taipei 101 is a wonder of a building. It's the tallest building in Taiwan. Tide. Let's move our stuff away from the water. The tide is coming in. Permit. Sally's mother wouldn't permit her to go camping because of the bad weather. Warn. Jessie warned her daughter not to go to the beach when the typhoon came. Slippery. Be careful. I just mopped the floor, so it's a little slippery. Phenomenon. Each April to September, people visit the Matsu Islands to see the blue tears phenomenon.
智慧小补帖
Algae. Reef. Volcano. Erupt. Lava. Carve.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net English4u.net。